taking on a Serpentis Baron, a battleship, might not be the first thing you think of doing when you're flying a lowly Velator corvette. And you might wonder how Jane ended up here, and whether she makes it back home in one piece. But with the right fit and a little bit of manual piloting, even the humble Velator can become the little Velator that could. As a child, you may have read about Jane in a popular series of books used in school to teach children how to read. But the conventional happy image of her life painted in those stories was a lie. All grown up now, she has become a capsuleer with a chip on her shoulder and a commitment to follow 4 rules she calls her guiding stars. These are the adventures of Jane Honesty, and in this challenge, we shall see how and how far Jane can fly while staying true to her convictions. Let's start with the part about the right fit. In this game, there's a lot of hay made every day about what fit is the right fit. But the truth is that while some fits are objectively bad, more often than not it comes down to what you want to do and what skills and resources you have available. Jane's immediate goal is to ship up into a proper frigate-class ship. And after hunting pirates in the asteroid belts all around the nearby high-security systems, we know that getting the 2.8 million ISK Jane needs to buy a blueprint and build a frigate is going to take forever to grind out from pirate bounty hunting in HighSec. But after all that hunting, Jane did find some critically needed modules in the pirate wrecks for her little Velator shade. She found a number of small combat drones, and she's decided for now she's going to use these Hornets. She's found a decent afterburner. She's found a stasis webifier. And she's found an armor repairer. And while the bounties so far haven't been rich enough to buy the blueprint she wants for a frigate, they have been enough to buy blueprints for other key modules. So she's built a few things for herself. She's built this damage control. She's built a pair of light ion blasters, and she's built thorium and antimatter charges to use in those blasters. So with all of that fitted up, Shade the Velator is stronger than ever, and the first order of business is to test Shade's mettle and give Jane a feel for how all these modules work together by taking a spin out to a few pirate combat anomalies. We've landed in the neighboring system of Galaroo, where there are 2 Serpentis Hideaways. We're starting with hideaways because they're the easiest ones, generally 3 or 4 waves of between 1 and 3 pirates. Now, nothing in here is going to be any more difficult than what we've seen anywhere else in HighSec before. The only difference is that in an asteroid belt, once you've done away with what you find there, that's it. But here, you have to deal immediately with another wave of bad guys after you've finished the first one. Additionally, after all the normal waves, there's a chance in any anomaly to spawn a faction pirate after the last wave is eliminated. The faction pirates are a little tougher than the normal ones, and they have a chance to drop faction loot, which is better than your average stuff. Finally, completing pirate highways also has a chance to trigger an escalation, which is a fancy way of saying you get the coordinates of another more difficult anomaly that is otherwise unavailable to other players. Now, we're not going to be interested in any escalations that might happen because they're going to be way too tough for us at this point, but maybe down the line we'll give 1 or 2 of those a try. So at this point, I've moved into a tight orbit around the bunker at the center of the anomaly. As the new waves spawn, they'll start right out near the bunker, and I want to be in range to hit them using the ion blasters. So far, though, the drones have been doing most of the work. The risk is that at close range they'll also be close enough to hit me, so I'm watching my shields to gauge how much incoming damage I've got. So far it's not much, though, so the drones are doing just fine, taking out the third wave. Wave 4 looks like a pair of tougher ships, so I get the blasters going here, and that seems to be helping quite a bit. But now the low shields warning means it's time to get the armor repairer going. It takes the armor repairer a few seconds to cycle, and you get the repairs at the end of each cycle, so you have to have a feel of how much damage you've got coming in to anticipate where the repairs land. Ideally, if your capacitor is stable, you can just turn on your armor repairer and let it run. But that's not the case with a Velator. There's just not enough capacity for that, at least not yet with Jane's skills. So we run it only when we need it, and we let the capacitor recover between cycles. And almost there. Yeah, the last of the pirates dies. No faction commander this time, which is fine. Shade performed admirably, so it's time to try the next level up, which would be a Serpentis Burrow. The nearest burrow at the moment is 2 jumps away from home in the Botane system. Burrows are the next step up from hideaways, 5 waves of anywhere between 1 and 6 pirate ships, all of which are the usual high-sec Serpentis suspects. Again, I don't expect there to be much trouble here, except the possibility that if there are too many enemies in range all at once, the armor repair is going to get a good workout. Burrows aren't very popular to run for a couple reasons. First is that the spawn locations of the different waves are spread out way far apart in the site, making it take longer to close distance, so they're not really conducive to running fast. And second, these sites don't have any chance of an escalation, which is where the real ISK value of running these low-level anomalies is. They do still have a chance to spawn a faction pirate at the end, but in all there's just not that much competition for them. So the first wave in this burrow is a wave of 5 pirates. The Velator can only target lock 3 at a time. And my strategy here is going to try to keep them at a range of 20 kilometers and let the drones do most of the work in here. Some of these ships will be using blasters, so if I can stay far enough away, I'll only have to mitigate the damage of the enemies using the longer range railguns. And then if anything gets within 10 kilometers, the plan is to slow them down with the stasis webifier, and if they're still fast enough to get within blaster range, I have the guns ready. Already, we've got the first wave down and the second wave has come in. The second wave is a little bit farther off, but I'm going to pick one again and try to stay at range. The spies seem to be good ones to keep at range because they're generally coming out shooting right off the bat, and then they do have a longer range to hit. So that means that I only have to mitigate damage pretty much from the spies at this point. With only the last agent still on the field, I've let the ship come to a stop. He's not doing enough damage to worry about out at 17 kilometers. And I don't want to get chased out much farther because I know that as soon as he's down, the next wave will spawn in. It'll be a long distance in the other direction. Yeah, there it is. 59. 64 kilometers away. So now we're going to have to close that long gap before we get any more action. As we come into range of this pair of safeguards in this wave, my plan again is to keep to a range of about 20 kilometers and let the drones do their thing. And safeguards hit longer and harder though, so I am going to expect to go through most, if not all, of my shields in this wave. And the wave following these safeguards is on a timer rather than waiting for these two to go down, so there's also a good chance that I'll end up with a few more enemies on the field before these two are taken out. Yeah, there they are, just popped in, and they are a lot closer as well, so I'm going to have to figure out which things to take out first and find the right ship to keep at range. Probably I'll just keep at range on the safeguard and let the others approach, and when they do, I'll just web them up and shoot them if the drones are still working on something else. And now the last wave. Single Corelli safeguard spawns in, and again he's 50 kilometers away. He's coming fast, so we close to keep him at 20 kilometers and let the drones finish him off. So that's the end of the burrow. And again, Shade was more than up to the task. We never did get below half of the shields, and the drones did all the work. We never had to fire a shot. After the combat anomalies, we dropped all the things back in the home station, but now on to a tougher challenge. Jane's problem is that pirates in HighSec just don't pay enough. We need to be hunting for bigger game, and right next door from home is a low-security system, Vale 0.4. For a lot of players, low-sec has a bad reputation. Here's where not just NPC pirates, but player pirates roam, so you do have to be aware of your surroundings here. But on a quiet evening, when things aren't too busy, hunting pirates in the asteroid belts here will pay much higher bounties than anything in high-sec. And depending on recent PvP activity in the system, there's also a risk bounty modifier that makes the payouts even better. This is where Jane will make enough ISK to get her frigate blueprint. Because in low-sec, along with destroyers and cruisers with bounties in the tens of thousands of ISK, every now and then you warp into a belt and find a battleship worth $500,000. The Serpentis Baron has 2 frigate escorts. We're going to ignore those and let the drones take care of them. To approach the Baron, we can't just approach straight on. If we do, it's as if we're a stationary target, and with the guns on that thing, we'd survive 1 hit, maybe 2 if we're lucky. Instead, we do a maneuver called spiraling in. We pick a spot in space close to the direction of the Baron, but a few degrees off to the right or left. Because the Velator is very small and the Baron's guns are very large, if we move across the Baron's guns at all, they can't turn fast enough to track us. And the indirect approach allows us to get in very close without being hit. So now that we're in close, we've slowed him down with our web, and we're entering a tight orbit 500 meters. It'll be a little bit wider than that because of our speed, which will carry us outside of the 500 meters. But we're going to try slowing down bit by bit so that we can make that orbit even tighter and get our guns even closer, because the blasters work so much better when we're right up in his face. All the damage that we've taken, we're just now starting to recover our shields again. That was from the frigates, because they had smaller guns that could target us better. So, provided we could survive until our drones took them out, which we did now, we can orbit this Baron forever without taking any damage. It's just a matter of whether, between our 2 little drones and our 2 blasters, we have enough firepower to whittle him down. Shield regeneration is at its strongest when the shield is somewhere around 1/3 of its full strength, which means, all things being equal, if you can get through someone's shield past the 1/3 mark, you can say you've broken their shield. The next few moments here will determine whether we have enough firepower to get past that first test, and yep, it's looking like we're pretty much past the point, down to about 1/4. So I'm going to say we did. We're past the first test. But Serpentis ships are armor tanked, and like our little shade, they have armor repairers. So the next test will be to see if we can get through a thick layer of armor. Down through the first third of his armor. We're actually picking it off faster than I thought we might. Every so often there you'll see the repairs hit and the armor level shoots back up. But so long as we can take a little more off the armor each time than what the repair adds back, we'll get through it. And now we take a little breath while our guns reload. 5 seconds that give him a chance to heal up a little, but at this point I'm feeling pretty good about our chances. Finally through all the armor and into structure. It's just a matter of time now. You can see the pockets of damage on him now that his structure is down into the last quarter. There he goes. One less Serpentis Baron striking fear into the hearts of New Eden's citizens. I'm Casparius. It didn't take long after killing the Baron to find enough pirates around Losec to raise the 2.8 million ISK Jane needed to buy a frigate blueprint. But the question is now, which frigate? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I can imagine that you have 1,001 things you could be doing today, but you took 25 minutes to play Eve Online with me, and I appreciate it. Thank you.